The currency war has already begun. Most people don't see it yet, but the signs are everywhere. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is expanding its influence across global trade. The digital yen is moving through trade corridors. Oil and commodity markets are settling without touching the US dollar. On the surface, it looks like China is breaking free and America is losing control. But that story doesn't hold up, because if China were truly escaping the dollar, it wouldn't still be moving its economy through the very system it claims to be replacing. Decades ago, the United States didn't just create a global currency. It built a financial architecture so deep, so embedded in trade, credit, and banking, that even its biggest rival cannot function outside it. And that's where the real danger begins, because this isn't a symbolic fight. It's a structural one. If that architecture weakens, America's credit system, military reach, and everyday standard of living weaken with it. In the next few minutes, you'll see why China's moves look aggressive but are actually defensive, why the dollar system still traps its challengers, and what happens if that foundation finally starts to crack. The world thinks the currency war is unfolding in the open. They point to the digital yen, to BRICS expanding, to China's grip on rare earths. These are the visible battles, the parts of the story anyone can see. But that's not where the real war is being fought. The real conflict is unfolding deeper, inside the financial architecture that holds the global economy together. A structure the United States built over decades, layer by layer, until it became unavoidable. From the outside, China appears to be striking at the dollar, building alternatives, challenging American power. But inside that system, the picture changes, because China is pushing from inside the machinery that supports it. The moves the world calls offensive are happening within a system China does not control and cannot step outside of. This is where the currency war actually lives, not in headlines or announcements, but in the architecture beneath them. China has built a series of tools the world interprets as bold, strategic advances. CIPS, the cross-border Interbank Payment System, a Chinese-run international payments network designed to operate alongside SWIFT, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. BRICS expansion, pushing nations toward local currency trade, and the digital yen, a programmable currency woven into cross-border deals. To most observers, these look like the first blows of a rising superpower challenging the dollar's throne. But that interpretation misses the deeper truth. These tools aren't evidence of China's dominance. They're evidence of its constraints. They exist because China must find exits, alternatives, and emergency routes inside a system it doesn't control. Beneath the headlines, China faces a weakness it cannot erase. For all its ambition, its economy still runs through the very dollar system it wants to escape. China holds more than $800 billion in US treasuries, the backbone of its financial stability. Its factories rely on American consumers, the single largest source of demand for Chinese goods. Nearly 90% of global trade still settles through dollar-based networks China cannot replace. And the yen itself remains not fully convertible, not widely trusted, and not protected by independent courts. This is the trap. China can't abandon the dollar without collapsing itself. The challenger is tied to the system it's trying to overrun. What the world calls dollar dominance is not just a currency advantage. It's a global architecture that the United States spent decades building. A structure other nations use every single day, whether they want to or not. International payments run through SWIFT. Global savings flow into US Treasury markets, the deepest and most liquid in the world. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank operate on rules shaped by Washington. Western courts provide the legal protections investors actually trust, and US naval power keeps the trade routes open that the global economy depends on. China isn't fighting the dollar. China is fighting the system behind the dollar, a system designed to keep every challenger inside it. There is a part of the dollar system almost no one outside global finance understands. and it's the part China can never break. It's the offshore dollar engine, the Eurodollar system, where US dollars are created and lent outside the United States by foreign banks. A network of banks outside the United States that create and lend dollars the same way the Federal Reserve does. These dollars never touch American soil, yet they power global trade, global credit, and global liquidity. Trillions move through this shadow system every day. Corporations depend on it. Governments depend on it. And based on global liquidity flows, China depends on it most of all. Because the world doesn't just use dollars, the world creates dollars offshore, and no rival currency can replace that engine. This is the trap beneath the trap. On the surface, China looks bold, launching CIPS, expanding BRICS, pushing the digital yen, tightening its grip on rare earths. But inside the system America built, every one of those moves reveals fear, not dominance. CIPS exists because Beijing knows SWIFT can be turned off. The digital yen exists because China fears sanctions that could freeze its assets overnight. BRICS exists because China fears being isolated by Western finance. Rare earth control exists because China fears US military power encircling its trade routes. What looks like aggression is insurance. China isn't trying to destroy the dollar. China is trying to survive a system that the United States still controls. Even if China wanted to strike the dollar directly, the structure of its own economy stops it cold. Dumping US treasuries would crash their value, and China holds over $800 billion of them. Killing the dollar would kill China's export engine, because global buyers pay in dollars, not yen. And the yen itself isn't ready for leadership. It isn't fully convertible. It isn't trusted by global investors. It isn't protected by independent courts or transparent law. The digital yen doesn't solve this. If anything, foreign governments fear its surveillance power. China can build alternatives, but it cannot manufacture trust. And trust is the true foundation of a world currency. For the United States, dollar dominance isn't prestige. It's the backbone of the entire American way of life. The US runs trillion-dollar deficits because the world buys its debt. It borrows cheaply because global markets trust its currency. It protects power overseas because the dollar finances its military reach. And ordinary Americans enjoy low prices, stable credit, and predictable savings because the world depends on the dollar more than the US does. But if that dominance weakens even slightly, everything shifts at once. Borrowing costs explode. Inflation surges. Imports become unaffordable. Military influence shrinks. The middle-class foundation cracks. This isn't about national pride. It's about national survival. The dollar trap America built is powerful, but it isn't unbreakable. Its strength depends on stability at home, political unity, fiscal discipline, and predictable leadership. And today, those foundations are shaking. Exploding debt, partisan paralysis, financial markets questioning whether America can still govern itself. China doesn't need to defeat the United States outright. It only needs the US to weaken itself. Because historically, the moment confidence in America slips, the architecture holding the dollar system together begins to bend. The danger isn't China overthrowing the dollar. The danger is America opening the cracks and China stepping in before they close. Every currency war reaches a moment where pressure can't stay hidden anymore, and we're moving toward that moment now. A BRICS trade currency is gaining traction. Digital yen adoption is spreading beyond Asia. A US sanction that triggers massive retaliation. A sudden move over Taiwan. A rare earth export freeze. A wave of treasury selling. Or something quieter, a failed US debt auction that shatters confidence worldwide. Any one of these becomes the spark. None of them stay contained. Because once a system built on trust hits a breaking point, the shock doesn't move gradually. It moves all at once. Something will break first, and when they do, the world will feel it immediately. Beneath all the strategy, technology, and geopolitics, this war comes down to one question. Which system does the world trust more? China offers a model built on control, state power, surveillance, obedience, and stability at any cost. America offers a model built on openness, messy, imperfect, often hypocritical, but grounded in law, markets, and freedom. The currency war isn't really about dollars or yen. It's about which vision becomes the blueprint for the next century. Whoever wins the trust war wins the currency war. And whoever wins the currency war shapes the world your children inherit. If this currency war feels dangerous, there's a reason. Because the dollar's power isn't just threatened from the outside. Inside the United States, another pressure point is quietly reaching its limit. A $38 trillion debt that can't be taxed away, cut away, or inflated away without risking the entire financial system. And while the world watches China, Washington has started exploring something far more radical. A new engine built from assets the government already controls. 260 million ounces of gold, seized Bitcoin that was once auctioned off, now being held as a strategic reserve, and a legal mechanism almost no one outside policy circles has even heard of that can turn those assets into spendable liquidity without adding a single dollar of official debt. If it works, America is sitting on trillions in financial leverage. If it fails, the fallout won't stay in Washington. The damage reaches banks, markets, savings, and ordinary households first. The next video breaks down that hidden engine. How gold revaluation, a national Bitcoin reserve, and a quiet law called the Genius Act may become the most important financial tools of the next decade. Link in the description.